Well, hey, and thanks for joining me for another episode of the Full Frontal Living podcast. And today's episode is called What You Want is Ready for You to Say Yes Today. And really, what I'm here to talk about is this kind of pattern that so many of you get into, which is the when, then. And you might not even realize that you're living by this. So I'm going to share a bunch of stories from my life, as I usually do, about where I've gotten caught in this trap of when then. So if you think about this in your own life, it might be waiting to give yourself permission to go buy the new outfit until you've lost 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever it may be. It might be waiting to give yourself permission to take time off or book the hotel. Or I had a client, because I often get my clients to book themselves into a hotel room. It's like, well, when I'm making this much money, then I'll be deserving of taking 2 or 3 days off to myself and booking that hotel room. Or when my business is doing this, then I'll be able to book that first class or business ticket. And I've run into this problem so many times in my life. And what got me thinking about this is how many of you are not living your life because you're not giving yourself permission to have the things you want, because you believe that you have to earn the right to have the things or do the things, or things need to be a certain way first. So imagine if I was still living from when then, my gosh, I would never get on video. I would never record these podcast episodes, because if I was constantly waiting for the perfect moment to do this, for my hair to be done, for me to not have black roots, whatever it may be, I would never record these. There were so many times I have recorded podcast episodes when I'm leaving the gym all sweaty, or videos or whatever. And I've just had to get over the fact, because if I'm always waiting for the perfect situation, nothing is ever going to happen in my life. So I am coming up on, let's see, at the time of me recording this, I've got about 3.5 weeks before my show in Vegas, which is super fun. I'm super excited about it. I've got all my gowns, everything's starting to come together for me. But what I'm more excited about is the fact that this is the first year in my business that I'm giving myself the month of August off. So why is this a big deal? Because I have been telling myself for years that I was going to take August off. And I always put different circumstances and scenarios around it. And I could always find a reason why it wasn't the right time. And there's never going to be a perfect time for me to take a month off in my business. And it came to a point where I just had to say yes to giving myself permission to have this. So I put it in my calendar. I marked the month off. I worked through all the stories that came up around, what are my clients going to think? Are they going to be taken care of? And guess what? Nobody cares. We're not creating oxygen. Okay. So my clients know how to show up for themselves. Part of the reasons we're working together is because they are so self-sufficient, and everybody will be fine when I'm off in August. We've just shuffled things around to make sure everybody's taken care of. And how can I model to my clients, excuse me, how to create more peace and ease and really step into the things that they want in their life if I don't have the courage to do it myself? So this year I decided at the beginning, it was probably in the end of 2022, I sat down to look at my 2023 calendar. I knew I was going to compete, and I said, you know what? This is the year I'm going to do it. And I had to consciously make sure I had my calendar blocked out. And then every time I would take new bookings or new clients, I had to remind myself that nothing goes on the calendar in August, Lisa. And there were many times I had to work through the stories around that. But again, if I wasn't willing to step into that, it was going to be an entire another year before I would give that to myself. And even then, year after year after year, I still wasn't giving that to myself. So I had to decide that when was now, that then was going to be now, and to stop waiting on when this. And I have so many examples of this in my life. I've shared on a previous podcast episode, when I was talking specifically around money, I'd always told myself, when I'm making X number of dollars, I'm going to take $1,000 and I'm going to go on a shopping spree and I'm going to spend that money on myself. And every time money came in, I would make sure this was a time in my life where I really, I wasn't comfortable holding on to money. And that's another podcast episode for another day. But basically money would come in and I would push it away as quickly as possible. I would never allow money to hang out with me. I was always in credit card debt up to my eyeballs. And so this dream of like, when my business is making this money, then I'll go out and go on the shopping spree. And I remember because my hubby came home and handed me a wad of cash one day, handed me $1,000. And he said, Lisa, this is for you to go spend on you. You're not allowed to spend it on your credit card debt. You're not allowed to pay bills with it. I want you to take this and I want you to give yourself that shopping spree. And I was in such awe and wonder at just like how uncomfortable I was in receiving that gift. That was number one. But number two, I booked this shopping spree down in the US. I'm in Canada. So I went across the US. I hired a private shopper. And I remember she was gathering stuff and bringing them to the change room for me. And I was trying to stretch that $1,000 to make it go so far because I was working in such a place of lack that, oh my God, like if I spend this, I'll never get to do this again, right? So it was the realization while I was standing in that change room that then was never going to come. I would have never given myself that shopping spree ever because of the place that I was working from. I was living in lack and limitation. And that's why that, when this happens, then I'll do that. I was unwilling to ever create that for myself. And I stood in the change room and I cried when I realized that I was never going to give myself that gift. And maybe you're listening to this realizing that there's things you've been telling yourself you're going to give yourself forever and you're not. So what really brought this to the surface for me this past week is I spent 4 days up in Whistler, which is just a beautiful part of the country that I'm so fortunate that I get to live in. And during COVID, I really rediscovered Whistler because this is a place where so many of my clients, they want to save their money and come here. It's a top-notch destination in the world. It's absolutely beautiful. And I get to spend time up there whenever I want. It's a 3-hour drive from my front door. So spent 4 days up there this past week and, driving up in my beautiful convertible. I have a convertible BMW. And the only reason I share that is because that car represents so much to me. Because for years I had on my vision board, my dream list, that I wanted to drive a convertible. And it had gone from like a Volkswagen convertible to a convertible EOS, which is also Volkswagen, right? And then I was like, yeah, but what about what would it be like to have a BMW convertible? And that felt like so out of reach. But I remember I went on a retreat and that was the car that I rented when I went on this retreat down in the Florida Keys. And I loved it so much. And I loved how it made me feel. And that was the moment that I was like, this is the car. This is the car that I'm going to buy. And I kept that car at arm's length for years, right? When my business is doing this, then I get to buy that car. And, as time ticked along, I wasn't willing to give myself that car. And the truth is, I could have bought that car long before I actually purchased it. They have payment plans. I'm a responsible adult. I can make payments. But it was like this thing that I wouldn't let myself have. I needed to earn it. I couldn't just have it to have it because it would have made me feel amazing. So when COVID hit in 2020, and all of a sudden we couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't travel, couldn't leave our homes, I decided that it was time to buy that car. Not only did I decide it was time to buy that car, I decided it was time to buy that car in cash. which was a huge leap for me, because it was like, Lisa, at what point do you allow yourself to have this? My business had become incredibly successful. I was so proud of what I was doing, yet I was still not allowing myself to have the things that I wanted to have, to be that person that would go out and buy herself a car and pay for it in cash. So I did this, and I can tell you that I would have paid, now knowing the gift that that car has been, right? Because it's just a car. At the end of the day, it is just a car. But for me, it's what that car represents. That car represents the fact that I have made so many changes to my life that I was able to become that woman who gives herself what she wants, what she needs, and no longer waits for, when these circumstances are this, then I get to have this. It represents so much freedom for me. It has brought so much joy into my life. And again, I know you might not understand this, and you don't have to, but I drive that car with the top down. Unless it's raining or snowing, the top is down on that car, because it brings me so much joy. And this is the thing, when we are withholding these things from ourselves that we truly want, we are withholding that feeling that we want to feel. It's not about the car. It's about the feeling that that car brings into my life that allows me to embody. And that completely changed how I showed up in the world. It still changes how I show up in the world every time I get into that car. So what I want to say to you, because this is so many of the women that I work with, for so long, you have been in this place of not feeling like you've accomplished enough, or that you've done enough, or you're not there yet, which is so ironic, because I bet if you wrote out your resume of all the things you've done in your life, you would see that you are quite accomplished. Most of my clients are, yet they deny themselves that they are successful, because they're like, yeah, but my life is this, this, and this, and this isn't working, and this isn't working, and I'm not there yet, and I haven't done this. And I get it. For most of my career, I didn't believe I was smart enough. I wouldn't allow myself to feel successful or be successful, even though I'd created multiple online courses, I'd written a book, I had clients around the globe, yet I was still holding myself back from being successful, because I had so equated it to a certain dollar value in the bank. And success isn't about a thing. It is a feeling. It is something that you can give yourself right now. You don't need to wait for when, then you get to be successful. Look at your life. Take inventory of where you're at. Don't look at the things that you haven't accomplished yet. Look at all the things you have. Look at all the things you've created. Are you honoring them? Are you really allowing yourself to see the woman that other people see? Because that's another thing that so many of my clients notice. Like, it's like everybody sees them in this certain light, yet they refuse to see themselves in that light. And that may be you. So today, what I want you to take from this is, you get to step into the life that you want today. So if you have this vision for, in 3 years, I want my life to look like this. I want to be traveling. I want to do these courses. I want to, I want to have more rest time. I want to be able to take, solo vacations. I want to be able to buy the car, whatever it is. How can you give that to yourself today? How can you say yes to some of the things that you want in your life today, instead of staying in this place of believing that circumstances need to change in order for you to have those things, or give yourself permission to have those things? You can have some of those things now. So you may not be able to go out and buy the multi-million-dollar property that you want, but can you take that trip? Can you say, you know what, like, I do need some rest. I want more downtime in my life. I am going to check myself into a hotel for 2 nights or 3 nights if you're wanting to really indulge. Who says you need to wait to lose 5 pounds to go buy the outfit? So I hear what you're saying. Like, I have clients say, but Lisa, I don't want to buy new clothes yet because I'm not in the body that I want to be in. Great. But you know what? If you want to be the woman who loves the skin she's in, then today you get to be that woman. Put clothes on your body that feel good for where you are today. Because if you're walking around in baggy clothes all the time, you're not going to be feeling your best. So put clothes on your body that support you feeling good. Let then be now. If you want to feel more successful, allow yourself to be successful today. Allow yourself to feel that today. You don't have to keep it at arm's length. So I want to leave you with just considering, right, what you can take action on today. You don't need to know all the steps, because that's the other thing so many people get caught in, is like, well, I have to know all of this and then I can. What can you do today to bring the life that you want closer to you? Because I even have people saying, you know what, Lisa, I'm not ready to work with you yet because this and this and this have to happen. So when, then. But the problem with that is they are creating this longer gap that doesn't need to be there, because by making the decision to jump into coaching, whether it's with me or somebody else or therapy or whatever it is, you are collapsing time. That all those things you want, you will achieve them faster if you are getting support. But so many people are like, oh, I need to wait, and this needs to happen, and then that needs to happen before I get to feel good. It's like they need to clear the deck. It's like cleaning your house before the cleaning lady comes. So yes, tidy up, but if you're cleaning your whole house before the cleaning lady comes, what is the point of having the cleaning lady? Okay, so hopefully you take what you need out of this podcast episode. Your life will be so much fuller and richer if you allow yourself to step into the things you want today. So sit down, grab your pencil, your pen, whatever you want, and just start asking yourself, what things am I not allowing myself to have because I don't believe I can have them yet because I haven't achieved X, Y, Z? If you could wave a magic wand and you could create the life you wanted today, what would be in it? Once you see that list, it's going to show you what you are keeping at arm's length. Because at some point, if you want to change your life, you have to step into being that person who lives from I am there now, right? It's the difference between, in my own life, I would book the coach seats and then I would upgrade into business class. And I remember sitting at my computer when I booked my trip to Mexico last year. And I'm like, Lisa, we are booking business class tickets. We are not upgrading. You are letting yourself be that person who books this now, not when I cross this much revenue, then I can do that. And just by making these small changes forward, right, it brings more abundance into my life. It creates a more extraordinary life. And that's what I'm here to live. That's what I'm here to support my clients living. I don't want you to feel like you're suffocating in your life. And so many of you are, because you are living from this when, then. What you want is available to you today. But you have to have the courage to bust through your blocks, whatever your limiting beliefs might be, around why circumstances need to change before you can have it. Okay? Because I guarantee you, when you say yes to yourself today, you will see such a massive shift in your energy, right? It is life-giving. It will change how you are showing up in the world. Just like every single time I get in my car, it changes how I feel about myself, because I'm so proud of myself for being that woman who did that thing and gave herself that thing she'd been dreaming about. I'd been dreaming about that my whole life. It still impacts me so profoundly today. And every time I go on a road trip, I'm so grateful, because otherwise I would still be driving my old crappy car that didn't make me feel very good, and still telling myself I wasn't deserving of it yet. So what do you believe you're not deserving of yet? Uncover that, get to work. If you need support, so if you find you are living your life, and everything is about when then. It's a constant grind. You're juggling all the balls. You're working so hard trying to get there, but it doesn't matter how hard you work, you're still not getting there, partly because you're not allowing yourself to get there and what you're making there mean. This is what the collective is all about. So the collective, this is not a group program. This is to help you create more peace and ease and bring in more energy into your life so that you can be more productive, so that you can create more of what you want while loving your life. So you're not frustrated and overwhelmed and feeling like life is living you. This is a very intimate container where we're going to be working one-to-one, and you're going to be coming together with a few other like-minded women, because although you are a special snowflake, there's a few other really special snowflakes. So everybody's having their own unique experience of life, but you will be amazed at what you discover about yourself when you're surrounded with other like-minded women who are struggling with the same things that you are in their own way. So if that sounds like you, make sure you head over to lisacarpenter.ca/collective, put your name on the list. We will reach out to you to book an appointment to see if you are the right fit for this container, because I really am taking my time curating and making sure that the right women are in this container, because we are going to be together for 6 months and we are going to go deep. So on the other side, you'll be looking around at your life going, wow, everything I said I wanted is now starting to drop into place, right? So we want to take then, right? When then, we want to bring then into today. So permission to say yes today. All right. Thank you for joining me on this episode, and I will catch you next week.